If you have a simplicity mower like this, this is must be kind of a common problem after several years of service. These lines here go bad and they have to be replaced. All right guys, what we got going on here today is we have a simplicity zero turn mower. It's this model number here, 1694454. I believe it's a 44 or 42 inch deck, 18 horsepower motor, Kohler motor. And this is my mother-in-law's, and last year I borrowed it and I was mowing the lawn. All of a sudden I just couldn't turn. One side, I believe it's just one side started not wanting to go at all, and then I just couldn't move at all. And I looked back in the back here, tried to figure out what was wrong, and there's oil running out. Or what happened was this hose completely split. And my son bought another mower just like this that he's working on, and they had already replaced all these 4 lines here. So my understanding is that after time, these hydraulic hoses get brittle and they just blow. So when I replaced this one, I should have probably replaced all the other ones. My mother-in-law was mowing at this the other day, and all of a sudden she couldn't go. And she parked it, noticed there was oil leaking on the ground as she drove it into the garage. And then when I went over to work on it to look and see what was going on with it, oil was all over the garage floor. So today what I'm doing is I'm taking these lines off and seeing if they are failing. I'm guessing that that's the problem. The hydraulic oil is so low in the tank that I can't even test it. I can't even turn it on and try to move it and see where the oil's coming out. So I'm gonna put some oil in the tank first, see if I can see where the leak's coming from. I'm fairly certain it's the lines because there's oil on each side running down on the drive motors. So I'm guessing it's just running down from this hoses. So I gotta clean this mower up a little bit so I can see, because there's quite a bit of mud and grass collected here in these areas right here. And then see what I can figure out. All right, hopefully I don't have too much stuff all over my face. I got the motor area and the hydraulic deck area cleaned up a little bit better than it was, so I can at least see what's going on a little bit. Now I'm gonna put some oil in the hydraulic oil reservoir so I can try it and see if I can see where it's leaking from. I'm also gonna jack it up so that I can turn the tires without it actually taking off on me. All right, it's just like I figured. So I had to take this old piece of railroad tie, set it on the seat so I make my safety switch, so I could actually take it out, the parking brake off, and actually move the levers to make the wheels turn. But before I even did that, I saw under the seat, put this back together here, under the seat right there, it's already leaking out of the hose. It's this hose right here, this top hose is leaking right out of the bottom, so that means it's got a split in it somewhere. So I already replaced this hose, and I'm just gonna go ahead and order all 3 of the other hoses, because obviously they are old and just a matter of time before they all fail. I know I got one failing, and the oil is leaking onto this pan and then running down on the wheel motors. So I'm gonna get these off. I'll show you where the actual, if I can show you where the hole is, I'll show you where the hole is on that hose, and show you the part numbers that you're gonna need to replace these. These hoses are kind of a pain to get to, so I'm gonna go ahead and jack this up higher, block my tires, and get under there and get them unhooked. All right, the top end of these hoses are hooked up right there. And there's really no way to get a wrench in there very easily. So I think what we're gonna have to do is take these plates off on each side, and then we can get right onto those hose ends. The bottom's not bad. You have to get in through the bottom, and you take the bottom one off first, and then you can get to the top one. So I'm not too worried about that. It's just getting down to these to get the ends off. It's gonna look like that when we're done. My son's working on a mower just like that, and it looks like he had to take that plate off to get that hydraulic pump out and to get to the hoses. All right, as you see, I just took those plates off on each side. They're just laying there. Now I can easily get to the tops of these hoses. So you might have to remove this bar if it's too much of a bother. Just take an Allen wrench, take that little collar off of this end, and then this bar should just come right off. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to do it this way. I was able to just barely get it on the nut, crack it loose, and then once it's loose, it just comes right off by hand. To the outside is a lot easier to get to. Make sure you know where your hoses go. I'm not gonna take my new hose that I already replaced off because I don't think it's leaking, and I'm not gonna cause damage by messing with it. Should be able to get this other hose replaced without messing with the other one the new one that I already replaced. All right, now I just gotta get the bottom unhooked. There's not much room to get to them down here either, but there's just enough to get them cracked loose. Like I said, you gotta get the bottom one off before you can get to the top one. If you're gonna do this, either make sure you drain all the oil out first, or make sure you're on a surface that doesn't matter, like gravel, or because you're gonna get some oil leaking. Yep, just enough room to get an angle on it and break it loose. Be careful not to damage your other fitting though. Okay, so I got that one broke loose. I'm gonna do the other side. Notice how I'm having to turn my wrench just to get enough area of travel to get it on the nut. Okay, so both sides are loose. All the lines are loose. Now I just gotta use my hand to get them off. There we go. Sometimes it helps to wiggle the top of your hose when you're trying to use your hand just to get the nut off. And I'm gonna try to clean these up a little bit before I put these hoses back on. There's a lot of mud and grease, and probably from this leaking for a little while. Probably started out as a real small leak and then just got worse. All right, both of them are undone. All right, as you can see, these hoses have like a covering on them, like a sheath. I don't know what you would call that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these metal bands so I can actually look at the hose, because I can't see the hose in the condition the actual hose is in, and show you guys what happens. All right, I apologize if there's some rain on the lens. It started raining now. So I ground through these little metal bands that hold this covering on this hose. So I'm gonna pop them off real quick and show you what typically is the problem with these hoses. You can just slide this off once you get those bands off. All right. This is not going to be very remarkable, but let me show you. The one that I replaced last time was a lot worse shape. It blew out a lot bigger area, but let me just try to show you where I believe it's leaking already. And it's going to be hard to see, probably on camera, but this is how it starts. So there is a little slit right there in the hose. I mean, it might be 1/8 of an inch long. You might be able to see it better if I turn this and bend it. Do you see that little slit right there? That little slit is the rubber failing, and that's starting to let that oil out. And eventually what will happen probably is it will just blow out. But it's let enough oil out that she lost all the oil in her oil reservoir. So that's typically the most common thing that I've seen on these mowers is these hoses, after so many years of use, just give out. And I don't know that it has a number on here. No, probably not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and show you where I ordered my last hose and what hoses I'm gonna order this time. So I'm gonna show you all the numbers I got. I'm all about saving money. If you're a person that wants to get the original equipment, go ahead and see if you can get it through Simplicity, or might be Arians, because that's, I think, who bought Simplicity. But for me, I'm just going to go the cheap route. You know, this mower isn't a new mower, and who knows how long it will run. It's only got 400 some hours on it, but it's, you know, it's several years old. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'll show you what I'm gonna order here next. All right, so what I usually do is I'll go on the internet and I'll Google the manufacturing number, which is 1694454, and then I'll find a parts diagram, something like this, online. This one's under, I think, parts tree, and they have them shown right there. Let me go back one here. So yeah, you'll get it, find a place like this that has all the diagrams for all the parts. And I went to the hydraulic group. It looks like there's two different groups, an early and a later model, so I'm not sure which one here. Gotta figure that out. And the parts that I'm getting, it looks like, are the exact same from the early and the later models, so it's not gonna really affect me. So then what I do is I take those part numbers and I just usually copy them right into Amazon, and nothing came up. So let's check that out again. Sometimes you have to find a different number. Wow, looks like they know this part goes bad because they're charging $117. So what ended up happening was I couldn't find these parts on Amazon, so I ended up ordering off a warehouse. But I mean, you can check out different sites to see which is the best. There's a Jack Small Engine, Parts Tree, but these are the part numbers that I needed for mine, as you can see there and there. So now I'm just waiting on the parts to come in, and then I'll be putting that back together. All right, quick update. So I had ordered the hoses through a company, like it would be the OEM hoses, and they, like a lot of things right now, were back ordered. So I actually took my old hoses to a local Napa auto parts store, but they actually make hoses there, and they made me some new hoses. And they actually cost about half of what the original hoses were going to cost. So these are the new hoses. Actually, they zip tie them together. The old and the new replacement hose. So I assume that these will last as long as the original hoses, but that's what we're doing. So today I'm going to go ahead and try to get these back on and get this mower back up and running. All right, quick overview of what I just did. So this hose I'd already replaced before, and it was the top hose. It hooked up to the top down here. And then, so I got this hose was new, and this hose goes to the bottom. Both sides are go in the same position. The left over here and the left over here both go to the bottom down below here. So I got this hose replaced to make sure it wasn't rubbing against anything. And same thing on this side. The left side, which would be left side here on this side, goes to the bottom down here. This hose up to the bottom. You gotta make sure the top hose is hooked up first, and that goes to the right side of this pump. So now I'm gonna put some oil in it, hydraulic oil, and see how it works. Now I just gotta put the plates back on that I took off on the sides to get everything back together. Good luck if this is a job that you have ahead of you. It's not really that bad. The hoses are a little bit expensive. I think these cost me about 170 bucks to get them made. But it's not too bad for probably as many hours. It's got like 400 some hours on the mower. So that's how you swap the hoses out on a Simplicity 44-inch deck, 18 horsepower, zero turn mower. Well, that definitely solved the leak problem on this Simplicity mower. Like I said, these lines here, they go out after time and they're going to need to be replaced.